Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son, Thomas.
Hi, hello.
So what's new?
What's new? Well, over the weekend I was stabbed. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
A nice lady. She walked me through all the reasons that I was going to be stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
And I accepted the stabbing and I was stabbed.
Good.
And
was there blood?
There was no blood, fortunately.
Right.
Yeah, I checked the bandage.
I can confirm that after medical intervention was performed and a bandage was pressed upon the stabbing wound, there was no blood.
There was no blood. I took it off later and there was no blood on the bandage.
Yes.
Yeah, and it went so well that in a few weeks I'll be going and getting stabbed again.
Good. You liked it so much. So you're Pfizered.
I am.
I'm not podcasting with you anymore. You're Pfizered.
Oh dear. And then earlier today I went for a walk and now I have no money.
Because you were stabbed.
No, the stabbing was unrelated.
You were mugged and took all your money.
No,
Right.
the stabbing was free.
It was.
No value.
Would you like a free stabbing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you went for a walk and came back with no money.
That is correct.
Did you go with money?
I did go with money.
Right, so somewhere between leaving here and returning here, you lost your money.
Yes.
Right.
Not all of my money,
Right.
I should say. I have about 50 cents left.
Did you spend it on anything amazingly interesting?
No, not at all.
Well, let me guess then. Did it involve KFC?
It did, yes.
Good.
My bank account is one popcorn go bucket later. And my stomach is not.
So you don't get a $1 slushie as well?
No, I go to McDonald's for that because they do it better.
Okay. They got more flavours too. Yeah.
And you can combine the flavours.
You can.
Up to 36 combinations.
Yes, I'll have a little bit of every flavour, please.
No, you get to pick 2. Well, I should say 36, not entirely accurate, because you can also choose frozen Coke with frozen Fanta, which is a separate menu item.
Right.
I couldn't tell you why, but it's a separate menu item.
I'm just trying to imagine anyone in their right mind mixing frozen Coke with frozen Fanta. It just does not work for me. I mean, I certainly mix some unusual flavours from those 36. But yeah, that combination would never happen with me, ever.
No. It's lime and vanilla for me, thanks.
Okay. Lime and vanilla. Lime and vanilla?
Yes.
Okay.
Because
that is actually getting very close to Coke and Fanta.
because lime and lime is too much lime.
Oh dear, I think we need to move on. I haven't done anything.
Right.
Actually, that's not entirely true.
You helped schedule my being stabbed.
That is true. There was an interesting turn of events. Had one son scheduled well and truly, and when he arrived, they apparently had some openings, so we wrangled you into the stabbing. So
they had
there were multiple stabbings in our household this week.
They had 150 openings, and apparently they didn't fill them all.
No. And yes, have done more wranglings of things today and making sure that one of our children who is basically living off half a heart, has a major heart condition, is right to... I had to speak to her cardiologist in Melbourne. had to fly to Melbourne, avoid the earthquake and the riots and the COVID outbreaks, just to make sure that they can get stabbed as well. I've got nothing else to share, so we might just get straight into this film, which is fairly long, fairly hefty, and I'm not sure whether my brain is in any way, shape or form in any state to comprehend what is going on. Which film are we watching today?
We are watching 12 Monkeys.
By Terry Gilliam.
Based on a French film.
Oh.
Yes.
Did I know that?
You probably did.
It does ring bells, but...
half hour, mostly stills.
Okay.
With audio. Mostly, I say, because exactly one shot...
is not still.
Uses a motion camera. Because that was all they could afford to do.
Look, I remember buying my first ever 3-minute roll of Super 8 film.
Right.
And it was seemingly quite expensive then.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a friend of mine a couple of years back saying, I wouldn't mind trying to film in Super 8. And I said, I have a Super 8 camera. Let's go for it. And then we looked at the price of Super 8 film now, because, of course, Kodak is defunct. They do still manufacture a Super 8 film, or at least they did then. They keep going back and forth, making it, not making it. But it was an absolute fortune. It was like $60 for 3 minutes. So that wasn't going to happen. And that was negative.
Right.
So the Super 8 that I used was a positive. So you'd get it developed and then you could instantly project it and see what's going on. But this was negative film. The reason being it was cheaper to do and people are going to digitize it anyway. So they do the reversal in digitization, which all just doesn't make sense. It's crazy. Anyway, we digress yet again. We are going to watch 12 Monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
Would you tell our dear listener a brief plot synopsis?
In the year 2035, convict James Cole reluctantly volunteers to be sent back in time to discover the origin of a deadly virus that wiped out nearly all of the Earth's population and forced the survivors into underground communities. But when Cole is mistakenly sent to 1990 instead of 1996, he's arrested and locked up in a mental hospital. There, he meets psychiatrist Dr. Catherine Rayleigh and patient Jeffrey Goins, the son of a famous virus expert, who may hold the key to the mysterious rogue group, the Army of the 12 Monkeys, thought to be responsible for unleashing the killer disease.
Okay, so some wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to watch it on a streaming service, and because it's wibbly-wobbly and timey-wimey, we'll flip you on the catch side.
Turn back to side A.
I got you, haven't I?
This
you
is
mongrel.
side. This must be side B, and we're going back to side A, right? Yeah. That's how this works.
So, what did you think?
I'm not sure I'm quite as enamoured with it as I might have been on a first viewing. It's still a very good film.
Mm-hmm.
Just not quite there for me. And I have no idea if it has anything to do with me having seen the sci-fi television series that is based on the film.
Mm-hmm. It could be that.
Mm.
That's interesting because I think it's hard to say the word enjoyed for this film because it isn't a particularly enjoyable film.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this time round I appreciated it possibly the most that I ever have. Whether that's because things clicked into place, which is frustrating because by next week I will have forgotten all those bits. But there are certain smart bits that I don't think that I have ever understood fully. And so at the end of it, there's always been that, confusion
right.
going on. It worked in my head surprisingly well, which is odd because, and I think I've been open about this in previous episodes, I can't remember which, I have spent almost 2 weeks in a mental institution.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I have seen this since then. I could be wrong. But the scenes set in a mental institution in this film were certainly quite disturbing with that added level of personal experience. Uh-huh. That being said, there are things that were incredibly familiar.
Uh-huh.
But there certainly wasn't paint falling off the ceilings. And there weren't physical metal bars and things like that. It was like a hospital ward, but the doors could be locked and the whole ward was locked down. But as far as people were concerned, I certainly saw some of those people.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw some of me in there as well. It's so that was a weird experience going through that. But boy, Brad Pitt did a good job. I believe it's one of his earlier films, in fact.
He first gained recognition 4 years earlier in Thelma and Louise.
Okay, so it's quite early on in his career. So much so that I believe that Terry Gilliam was concerned about whether he could pull off the psychotic character that he portrays, and was going to send him to not language courses, but I guess to psychiatrists to train him up. But I believe that they actually solved the problem by taking his cigarettes away from him.
Right.
Which got him very highly strung, and he pulled off the performance of a lifetime, I thought.
He was not paid a whole lot for his work on 12 Monkeys, which is funny because in the time between filming and release, he was in a lot of big movies and became very popular.
Yeah. As for Bruce Willis, he acted in this. I think in other... I can't remember...
Wait.
Have we talked about him just sort of phoning it in?
Oh, in one of our Die Hard episodes, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, but this, he had layers like an onion. I really, really appreciated his performance in this too. So I possibly, it appears, enjoyed, in inverted commas, this a bit more than you did.
I don't know that much has really changed about my situation since I last watched the film, as much as you seem to believe. I think I can't remember if you've watched it since that experience. I can't remember those 2 weeks, to be honest.
No.
It was a while ago.
Well, you were 12, so...
Yeah, I feel like you've seen this film since then.
Okay, I may well have done. Yep.
But
all right.
That's 10 years of space that I'd have to remember, and who has time for that?
Yeah.
Oh dear. This is a film about stable time loops.
Yeah, it is.
This is a film all about stable time loops and how everything is predetermined once it has happened.
Yes.
And that's interesting.
It is. I don't think I have seen anything since, except... Okay, my big question is, and this is, I guess, spoiler territory, so just block your ears for about 30 seconds if you plan on seeing this. The very last scene in the aeroplane.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a chance there of changing the future?
It's interesting, because Jones talks about being in insurance.
Yes.
Which is an interesting word to use.
It is.
What are you insuring?
Exactly.
That the future continues as it has?
It's so ambiguous. It really is. Which I love. And so there is really no answer there. We don't know. But up until that point, anything that supposedly interfered with time has already happened and does not
and affected everything ahead already.
Yeah.
And often without anyone involved realising.
Yes.
You receive a phone call.
Yep.
And then later, which is to say earlier, you see that phone call taking place, but you don't know that that's the phone call until they come over and tell you what the phone call was about.
Yep. I love this film. I had forgotten how much, and as I say, this particular watch through, I grew to appreciate it even more. He's a genius. He really is. Mad, crazy genius. As far as this film is concerned, he has had some doozies otherwise, but
Terry Gilliam makes Terry Gilliam films.
Yeah.
Come hell or high water, he will make Terry Gilliam films.
And he drives people crazy doing it. My understanding, and I could be making this up, but this is a recollection that I have, that last scene, the very last scene in the car park, he suddenly decided, I want to film that scene.
Right.
After everything had finished, he wanted to do that, and it caused all sorts of chaos. I could be making that up, but that seems to ring a bell. All that being said, I myself have had deja vu as far as that story was concerned when I made my now famous short film, where there was a scene that weeks after we'd finished filming, I suddenly realised I need an extra scene. And so filmed it and managed to cut it into the rest of the film, all filmed in a completely different location, but I think managed to pull it off.
That was a shoot.
It was. I do have some notes. Do you have some notes?
I don't have any notes. I probably should have taken some notes, but I didn't take any.
Yeah, I couldn't. And so all of my notes were from very, very much at the beginning. And the two notes, other than Brad Pitt and his cigarette deprivation, are actually related. So the first one was when he returned from the surface and had the guards scrubbing him down because of possible contagion from up in the... And then probably 15, 20 minutes later, when he's back in time, he's about to be put into this psychiatric ward, and there are security guards scrubbing him down in much the same fashion, with many, many, many years in between those two things happening, and in reverse order. It's wibbly wobbly.
Right. Yeah. There's another one of those.
Yeah.
A bit closer together.
Mm-hmm.
He's strapped down onto this flat bed in the psychiatric ward.
Yes.
And disappears. And when we find him back in the future, he is
strapped
on another flat bed.
Yep. And the other one that's slightly more weird is he's running around trying to escape the psychiatric ward, and he bursts into a room with a CT machine with someone just going through the CT machine, and then gets captured. And later on in the film, the actual time machine, he's sort of in this setup, and then it starts heading towards something that looks very similar as far as motion-wise and tube-wise, going into this time vortex machine that I think it was analogous to the CT machine. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Thank you for bringing my attention to these parallels that I had not noticed.
No. The sets were just absolutely superb. It's not quite steampunk, but cobbled together technology punk, I guess, is, I don't know, what would you call it?
I don't know.
Well, late 20th century punk.
Well, what I would say is they had no sound stages to use for the entire shoot.
Yep.
So they just had to find whatever locations they could scrounge up.
And were you counting the locations in your head and thinking,
there's a
wow,
few of them.
but also feeling that, yeah, this is a real location. This is not a set. I mean, certainly in the scenes where he's in the future, in the interrogation room, there's lots of set dressing there, but the room felt very real.
Gilliam managed to keep to budget on this one.
I was looking at the comparison too between the budget and how much it ended up grossing. And he did good.
Yeah.
It was very much done on the cheap.
Mm-hmm.
But it made a fortune at the end of things, I guess. And it looked wonderful. It was just shot superbly and felt real and felt solid, and it messed with your mind in all the right ways. I mean, the bear.
Mm-hmm.
the parallel there, and there was another one very soon after.
The department store.
The department store, yes, looking up at the ceiling of the department store. Yeah.
And realising we've been here before.
Yeah.
Or later?
Yes.
We've been here later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the big question is this a Christmas movie?
No.
Right.
No. Because we establish in the film that the virus gets out a couple of weeks before Christmas.
Yep.
And we have just seen, spoilers, the virus getting on its merry way.
But there was Santa Claus, and there was Christmas music in the store, both in the past and in the future.
But that's really a reflection of the increasing, even then, intrusion into time that Christmas has.
I think it's another... Is this another Bruce Willis Christmas film?
Almost.
Almost. All right. I'm still sort of gobsmacked with that film, even though I've seen it before. The way my memory is, I guess, a lot of people have said about my problems with... My childhood memories are pretty amazing, actually. I can remember my childhood very, very well and into my teens, but then things start falling off the wagon, and I can watch something and the next day I can't remember it. So there are people who have expressed, I guess, jealousy of that means I can watch a really, really good film, enjoy it, and then watch it again and it'll be new. And I don't buy that at all. But I certainly appreciated having a familiarity this time around and having pennies drop that I don't recall dropping before.
So, as I've said, I have watched the sci-fi TV series, and I think it's quite good. It's a very different beast to the film.
Mm-hmm.
It goes a lot of places because it's a TV series and it has to go a lot of places.
So is it a reimagining, or is it so it's not a sequel? Yeah. It's telling stories off the same bones.
It tells the story of the film, but that doesn't take up very long.
Right. Okay.
So it then goes on because, well, the film doesn't solve its problems.
No.
So obviously the TV series still had places to go.
Yes.
For a while, the TV series was available on Netflix, just the first 3 of 4 seasons.
Of course.
And I was waiting for the 4th season to hit Netflix, and then it never did, and the whole thing came off Netflix, as it does. And then it all went up on SBS On Demand, which was unexpected.
Unexpected.
And then it came back down off that.
Yes,
and
I was going to say, it doesn't tend to stay on SBS On Demand for very long.
It was there for maybe a year.
Right.
And now it's on binge, so forget that, I suppose.
Yes. So, can I clarify something here then? Did you find out that it was on SBS On Demand and got to see that last season that you hadn't seen?
I have seen that last season.
Right, so you've seen it all.
Yes, I have seen it all.
Spoilers, does it conclude?
It does come to a conclusion, yes.
Right, so it didn't suffer a cancellation without a conclusion. It may have suffered a cancellation, but I don't know.
It definitely had a conclusion,
right.
A definitive conclusion.
Okay.
It definitely ends.
Good.
Eventually.
Good. I shall keep that in mind. No, we're not getting binge.
No.
I shall keep an eye out for when JB has deals on TV series and hope that it's available on that. I'm still, sort of reeling at the genius of it. And also appreciating the moments of comedy in it as well that are a sweet relief and well-placed and well-timed. And I guess that's also got to do with the director, who has a knack for comic timing. All right.
Right.
Do you have anything else you wish to?
No, I think we're done here.
All right then. We shall move on then.
The following segment has no title. We apologise for the inconvenience.
Is there anything to move on to?
There is. Jeff said something. And with the amount of feedback that we get from people, it was well written, and I think it deserves being read. It was concerning last week's episode.
Are you sure?
Yeah. It might have been when I...
There we go. It was on your personal page.
My personal page? Okay. All right.
So
this will be new to a lot of our dear listeners who aren't privy to my Facebook page. All right, Jeff said...
So, I actually listened to these two mostly back-to-back. Like you, I love both of these films, despite understanding their... I don't want to call them flaws, but I don't have a better word.
Yep.
The original is elevated by the silly computer jokes and technical challenges. Legacy was slick, which is exactly what it needed to be, but I don't think it was as much fun as the original.
No, I agree with that too. Yep.
I like it, and I want more, but I do remember having mixed feelings coming out of the theatre. I did see it in 3D, and it did work in a few scenes very well.
Yep.
But as usual, was not integral. To be honest, I wanted more Boxleitner.
Yeah. Yep.
I agree with just about everything you said about the music and effects in both films. I kept getting ready to disagree with you, and then you said exactly what I was thinking.
That's because I'm telepathic, and so is Thomas.
We're something.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very good point about Boxleitner. I can never pronounce his name.
Boxleitner. Boxleitner.
Yeah, wasted character. He should have been in there as well. Wasted on the outside. All right. Thank you, Jeff, for contributing. And if any of you want to contribute, there's links in the show notes to our Facebook page and our Twitter page. And
I don't know, if you're watching on YouTube, there's a comment box down below.
There's a comment box on our YouTube. We are on the YouTubes.
Anchor, send in an audio message.
Yes.
Someone's probably going to hear it at some point.
All right.
Whether we find out about it, couldn't tell you.
Alrighty.
That's it for this segment.
Yes, it is indeed.
We can move on.
We can.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed. It's your turn.
What?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
That is how this format has managed to wrangle itself into working.
All right, then. All right. Well, I've got nothing in particular, so I'm going to use the randomizing feature on My Movies to select a film from my list of films that I want to revisit. So I'm going to shake my phone. Oh, okay. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to read the plot, and see whether you can work out what it is. A tribe of cats called the Jellicles must decide yearly which one will ascend to the Heaverside layer and come back to a new Jellicle life.
Ding.
What is it?
This is cats.
All right. I did not shake the phone.
You're messing with me.
I'm messing with you.
Oh dear.
We are not watching Cats.
Another sordid journey into that particular director's intriguing style.
Yes. We're not doing that. However, and in fact, to redeem myself, I guess, from pulling that prank upon you, I should say that I do actually have a film that I have selected.
Right.
Which is not on the list of films that I want to revisit, because it's not on the shelf.
Right.
I have seen it, but I can source a copy of it. But I suddenly thought, we need to watch this.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to bring up the description.
Well, certainly a description.
A bunch of cats.
No! The double bamboozle! You've killed me. I'm dead.
And I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to pick this or not. Here we go. The trouble with Harry is that he's dead.
Oh,
and everyone seems to have a different idea of what should be done with his body.
Okay. I think I have an idea of what you're getting at, but I can't remember the name of the film. You might need to continue on a bit.
I could repeat the description.
Oh, that's it.
Yes.
Ooh.
The trouble with Harry
okay, that's the name of the film?
That he's dead.
Okay.
And everyone seems to have a different idea of what should be done with his body.
Right.
Yes. We are going to be watching next week The Trouble with Harry, directed by Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay.
Made in 1955.
So it's been a while then.
Yes, I certainly wasn't around when it came out. But my recollection, and it's been many, 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 many years since I've seen it, certainly longer than the last time I saw 12 Monkeys, but I remember quite enjoying it. And I think, again, revisiting Hitchcock, and hopefully he can redeem himself after the birds fiasco.
Yeah, the confusion of the birds.
Yeah, the letdown, I guess. Yeah. All right. So, The Trouble with Harry.
You know what it is? You know what the problem with the birds was? We didn't have bird sounds played to us as we were exiting the theatre.
No.
That would have redeemed the whole thing.
Did you notice it on 12 Monkeys? There was snippets of the birds.
Yes,
when they were in the cinema.
Were.
They watched, I guess, a double feature, Alfred Hitchcock double feature there. I think the first one was North by Northwest?
Outside, as they exit the theatre, you can see over the cinema on the whatever that thing is called. They were doing a 24-hour marathon of Hitchcock films.
I missed that. Oh, okay. Cool.
Yes.
Well, that's quite a segue then. Quite a follow-on. It must have been... Maybe I saw it in the future.
Right.
And, yeah, but subconsciously, which is why I selected this film in the past, so that we can watch it in the future.
Right.
And if that's the case, we hope that you have joined us when we watch Alfred Hitchcock's The Trouble with Harry. Do you have anything you wish to say before we wind this thing up?
No, but
yes.
No, there we go. Yeah, we can wrap up.
Well, we were almost there.
Yeah.
And then we got to that stumbling block that we always get to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You keep on giving these hints that, no, you're not quite ready to wrap up.
Yeah, that's not helpful. That wasn't what I was looking for. Nah, forget about it. It doesn't matter.
Forget about it.
We can wrap up.
We can. So we hope that you can join us when we watch The Trouble with Harry. But until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
Turn back to side A.
I got you, haven't I?
This
You
is
mongrel.
this must be side B, and we're going back to side A, right? Yeah. That's how this works. And then you listen to side B again, and it all makes sense.
That's right. Yeah. In fact, if you play this podcast backwards, you'll get a completely different episode. It won't make any sense, but it will be a different episode.
Well, what's new? What's new?
Exactly.
Talking.
J.R.R. talking?
Yes.
Good.
The man who insists that his characters walk.
I had a friend at work who didn't watch any of the films. You asked why? Oh, because they're walking movies. Yeah, so... Is that like a road movie? Only it's walking, I guess.
Walking. There's a bit of hiding.
There's a bit of flying.
Yeah.
A bit of floating.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes they run.
They do. Run! Run, you fools!
And then other times they trundle slowly up the sides of mountains.
They climb. Okay, I think I've got levels. I think.
Right. Cool.
Yes. I've got pasty mouth.
I've got sausage roll mouth.
Right, okay. Well, we should be able to successfully pull off this fool's errand. And breathe in 3, 2, 1.